Hey everyone, this is Johnnie Alexander. So glad to be back with you for another edition of Novelists Unwind. I just realized I'm sitting in a swivel stool and I'm having the tendency to do this, so I'll try not to do that too much as we talk to today's author. I'm so happy to have Jane Malsbury Tucker with us. Jane writes, is one of the contributors for Midwest Almanac, along with me and with Liz Tolsma, who has been on here before, and also Laura Young, who's another great writer. We need to get Laura on here sometime too. So we're going to be talking to Jane today about two of her books in a series. They're both about a world famous pianist, Lottie Braun. First, though, we were talking just before I hit the record button about traveling and about, where we're from, what we're doing, those kinds of things. And Jane was telling me she's from Wisconsin, but that is not the state. I mean, I'm sure she loves it. She grew up there. But the state that has her heart, and it's actually the primary setting for at least the first book, which I'm reading. They do travel. They go other places. So tell us about the state that you've adopted.
Well, I grew up actually in many places, although Wisconsin is where I put in the most years and have the most memories from. And so when I went to college in Iowa City, Iowa, to the University of Iowa, and met my husband, we had a bit of a clash in how our families operated, because he is an Iowan. He's from a great big Iowa clan. They got together every year for family reunions, and I knew nothing about life like that. So when we were first married, we moved to Burlington, Iowa, and the bigger town of Collison in my books is roughly in the location of Burlington.
Oh, okay.
But we lived, a mile from his grandma, and his uncle was our dentist, and it was a lot. But I was also really charmed by his family and really fascinated with this life that was such an other from what I'd known. And when it came time to write fiction, that's where my mind went.
Yes. So show us the cover of the first book, which is Lottie's Gift, right? Yes, Lottie's.
Right.
The other one is Lottie's Hope. So, but first we're going to talk about Lottie's Gift, and I love it. So, and you can just see that Jane has just pulled in this love of family and closeness in this story, because this little girl Lottie has like a zillion aunts. Whose names all begin with the letter E.
Yeah.
And they have family meetings about Lottie's future and about different things. So tell us about the inspiration for that, and just go ahead.
So John's grandma was one of 10 siblings. She was the oldest. These were the siblings that had the family reunions, and they were very close. They lived on a farm. Those siblings, a whole 2 generations north of us, grew up on a farm outside Burlington in a little town called Denmark, Iowa, which still only has gravel roads.
Wow.
And they were the right time period for Lottie's family. So nobody in the book is real.
Okay.
Nobody is modeled after somebody so closely that that they recognize them. But they had this quality about them of common sense and rough and ready kind of humor and family feeling that I wanted to capture.
And you do. I mean, you do capture it so well. So it's such a sweet story, and it's a nostalgic story. I mean, I feel like I'm going back in that time, and it's kind of easy and and just very comforting and comfortable both as I'm reading along. And then I love these aunts, and they have these very distinct personalities. Tell us about Lottie, about your little heroine.
Um, it's interesting to try to figure out where our people come from. Her name is the name of a great aunt of mine, but I only met that lady twice, maybe.
Mm.
I know she gave piano lessons, and I suppose when I was throwing it all in the idea hopper, that was probably. But I am trained as a pianist. You know, as a kid, I took 10 years of lessons,
Oh, wow.
loved the piano, but my gifts aren't musical.
Really?
And when I when I wanted to turn notes into music like Lottie does, I don't have that gene.
Oh, wow.
I can turn words into stories, so don't feel bad for me. But I thought when I sat down to come up with my very first story, I thought, why not do a little wish fulfillment?
Mm-hmm.
Why not make her into someone I wanted to be so badly?
That's so cool. And not that you don't have a music gene. I mean, that's not cool, but I don't either, but even less than you, because I didn't even do the piano lessons thing. I think I took one semester of piano in college, and it was kind of a disaster. So I was like, no. But as I'm reading this and the way you're describing Lottie, I remember one phrase was this waterfall of notes, and I thought, oh, that's so lovely. And I don't know, without having a music background, that I ever could have come up with that metaphor, a waterfall of notes. And it's beautiful. So I thought you must just be like right here, So wow,
No.
she really knows music.
Recently, my editor suggested that we offer, like a sound file to anyone who pre-ordered the book of me playing one of Lottie's pieces. And reading that in the email, I just burst out laughing. Nobody wants that.
Like, no.
Right. No, you don't get it.
Oh my God.
It's not me.
So yeah, we should say Lottie she starts out in the story, she's just so young, and yet she has this tremendous gift for music and piano and organ, and she's a child prodigy. And it's kind of like her journey then, when you have out in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and you have this little farm child who has this tremendous gift, and different people around her, some with selfish motives and some with her best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And then her journey, I know that something else is coming, but before we get onto that, okay, let's talk about these people, the ones that care about her and the ones that are a little bit like, yeah, this is great, she has this, how can I work this to my advantage? Yeah.
Who do you want to start with?
Let's talk with Mr. Schultz. Yes. So he's,
maybe.
Yes, him. Tell us about him.
So he showed up in small town Iowa because his daughter married Lottie's uncle. And he's a New Yorker who couldn't stay in New York. He got run out of New York. And he also is a cellist, an orchestra musician. And Mr. Schultz sees in Lottie, most of all, his ticket back to New York. He's not especially fond of the child, but he sees her gift. And so he's the one, though, who has developed her gift for her. She would have probably stayed in small town Iowa without him. So I have a bit of mixed emotions about Mr. Schultz because, they call him the old man behind his back, really. And he is not a savory figure, but at the same time, he's her ticket out. Yeah. And a girl with that much talent, they really, really, her family wants her to find her destiny.
Yes, yes. But that just gives complexity to him too, though. And that's what we want in our characters, is to give them that. It's not like they're all good or all bad necessarily, because even even as he wants this for himself, you do get the idea that he's awed by her talent and almost jealous of it in a way too, you know, but just like he wants her to succeed, but you know, better if she succeeds if he can get money for her succeeding.
And if he can get back to his home.
Back to New York, yes, yes.
So I need to ask, how far have you gotten?
They have just played at the Indianapolis
Okay.
dance place, and he's telling her, you might not want to tell your dad about this. And Lottie, she's 10, and now she's got secrets, and he's used very subtle ways of convincing her why she should not tell her dad. Also, like, well, you know, your sister's not gonna be happy about this, and your dad's not gonna be happy about this, so let's just keep this to ourselves.
Okay, so I am gonna spoil
Okay.
one thing.
Okay.
It isn't the ending, and you'll still read on, I think. But the band that she played with in Indianapolis become a big part of her life.
Oh, yeah, I thought they probably would. Yes, yeah.
So Johnny Columbus is another character who's got mixed motives. You know, he likes Lottie. He thinks she's a great kid. He knows she's leagues above that band in talent and destiny. But he really likes her sister.
So that is going to come back because the sister at this point is married and far away from home in California with her husband who's in the Navy. So, wow.
Yeah.
So that's great because so there are all these different layers of people's motivations, who wants what, and then you, in the middle of it all is this beautiful little child with this tremendous gift.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go with that? And part of this too, and part of the suspense, Jane, that you've built up is that the story starts out with Lottie as a very elderly woman, having had a successful career, still being known and playing and just, you know, very famous.
Right.
And we know there's a rift between her and her sister. And yet when we go back in time to Lottie's childhood, you know, there's an age gap. So, you know, that does lead to some separation because Helen leaves home when Lottie's still young. But they're very close. And it's like, and I'm kind of like, what happened? What happened between Helen and Lottie? So don't tell.
Yeah. No, I
find out.
Yeah. I had to come up with a compelling reason why sisters wouldn't talk to each other for 40 years. And I did. But first, before I could think of my reason, I polled all my friends who had sisters.
Really?
And I said, what would make you stop talking to your sister for 40 years? And you know, the most popular answer, the one I hadn't thought of, was, well, I think she'd have to sleep with my husband. And I thought, I'm not writing that book.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't want to go there, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So I will put that aside for you.
Okay.
That's not the problem.
And I wasn't thinking that was it. I mean, I don't have a clue, but and because that crossed my mind, I thought, no, I don't think that. I don't think it's going to be that. But I'm eager to get there, and I just love the I love the feel and the pace of the story and how it's just sort of pulls you into Lottie's little world, and she's just a child, you know, just a kid.
Yeah.
In the future,
I hoped to express through her eyes for the reader to be able to see the adult world really clearly.
Yes.
Because without her being practically a little adult in the company she keeps and the life she's living, then you have kind of a middle grade novel
That's true.
of a child, you know, going through this unusual experience. But Lottie's got a whole lot of things going on around her that she sees, doesn't understand, but can articulate for the reader.
Yes, yeah. And then there's the sequel, Lottie's Hope. So do you want to show that story to us as well?
Yes.
And again, yeah, very, very nice. And we don't want to give any spoilers for it either, but tell us what you can about that story.
Okay. So the question with the first book, Lottie's Gift, is can Lottie ever go home again? Because whatever it is that happened caused Helen to end up in Iowa and Lottie to not, and to be alienated from her family and especially from Helen.
Right.
So the second book brings Lottie back home. Yeah. She's offered a professorship that allows her to come home to Collison, Iowa, to a very small college in a small town. And her question now is, she's been offered this opportunity. Can she really adjust? Can Lottie Braun, the great Lottie Braun, really become a part of a small Iowa community? And will the Iowa community ever accept her?
Wow.
And she gets there, and people are friendly, but things begin to happen, and she begins to realize that somebody doesn't want her there.
So it almost has a mystery element to it, more so than the first book does. Yeah, the first book, the suspense is just kind of like, okay, what has happened to cause this rift? And this one you have like, oh, things are happening. Yeah. It's a whodunit? Who did it? Kind of thing almost. Without murder. I'm there's no murder though.
No murder.
No murder.
A little bit of mayhem and a whole lot of sweet relationship building also going on around her and with her.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so now will there be a third book, or what are your future writing plans?
There will be a third book. Okay. I am frantically trying to get it finished right now. I would like it to come out a little sooner with smaller amounts of time between book 2 and book 3. And to make that happen, I have to get it written. So this one is really fun. And the very best thing I can tell you is I'm working with a tagline that'll probably never make print, but I keep thinking about it as we're getting the band back together.
Oh, I like that though. That's really cool. Okay, so if we read the first 2 books, we're going to kind of know what that
Oh yeah.
Getting the band.
This is a series that goes together 1, 2, 3. You aren't going to do very well with just one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Well, that'll be fun. Does it have a title as well? Do you have a title for that story yet?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm open to suggestions.
Okay, so if anyone has a suggestion for the third book in Jane's series, contact her.
Catch me on Facebook with that.
She's on Facebook. She's got her website, which makes a great segue. Actually, it's Jane M.
Tucker.
Jane. Thank you. I was going to say Tucker, and all of a sudden it was like, no, you know how your mind does that. No, it's not Tucker. It's like, yes, it is Tucker. No, it's not Tucker. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, janemtucker.com. And your website is called Postcards from Heaven?
From the
Heartland. From the Heartland. See, sorry, like I said.
Oh, you got my name. That's okay.
Yes. Postcards. I started to say Postcards from the Edge, and I knew that wasn't right. That's the Carrie Fisher. So no, I knew that. So no, that's not right. Yeah. H. Postcards from the Heartland, because of your love for the Midwest, and of course, I've already said we blog at MidwestAlmanac.com, so you're all welcome to go there too. But you will want to see Jane's site. She's got some beautiful photos there and talks about different highlights of the Heartland states, which is just really cool. And currently, even though her husband's family is all in Iowa, now lives in Kansas City, near Kansas City.
Right.
He is right there in flyover country. Yeah.
That's right.
Part of what we do in Midwest Almanac is talk about places that you can go. In any of the Midwestern states, we try to highlight like different little museums and small towns and that kind of thing. And so Jane has written about traveling on parts or different sections of the Great River Road. Now, when I grew up, grew up in Ohio, so I had never heard that term before. I know the Blue Ridge Parkway, I know the Skyway, but no, I did not know even that there was a Great River Road. So lately, not too long ago, I was driving from Missouri to Memphis, and there was a sign, and
Oh,
I actually thought I was going to be on part of it, and then my GPS took me a different way, so I didn't get to be. But tell us about the Great River Road and some of your experiences traveling along that.
well, the Great River Road in this, well, in the Midwest is the Mississippi River. If you say the Great River around here, Kansas City, you're going to get the Missouri. But
Oh, okay, so it's two different, it can mean two different things.
well, I don't think there's a Great River Road for Missouri,
Okay,
but
okay.
people, I mean, you growing up, I bet your Great River was the
Ohio
Ohio.
River. Well,
Yeah,
the Ohio River, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But the Great River Road runs from the St. Paul area in Minnesota down to New Orleans, and it follows the Mississippi River. It is not one road. So sometimes you're on a 4-lane, sometimes you're on 2-lane roads. Sometimes you think you're never going to find a gap, which happened to me. I felt pretty desperate by the time we got to gas. But and the other shock for me driving the Great River Road in Southeast Iowa last summer was that you don't see the river
Hmm.
very much along that road. It's all river bottoms, and it's beautiful farmland, and you know, all the gorgeous little farms that you can't see from the interstate.
Right.
But the river, you just had to assume it was a mile east of you, which was kind of strange. But it runs through some great river towns. It runs through Burlington,
Oh,
Davenport, Dubuque, Muscatine, and all of them, it runs through their old downtown areas. And it's just,
cool.
a really great thing to see that history.
Oh, yeah, that is. And when you say that, like, you don't even really see the river, it made me think of, I think it's A1A or 1A that's along the Atlantic Ocean. And of course, I've driven down in Florida, and lots of times you are so far inland, you're not seeing the ocean at all. But yet, it is the furthest, route, the one that far.
Right.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Well, tell us about some of your hobbies. So we know that you love to write. We know that you play the piano, but you can't play for Lottie. what, what else do you like to do?
I love to cook.
Oh, do you?
I do. I like especially to make dishes that simmer a long time. I like to make spaghetti sauce and
Wow.
chicken noodle soup and beef stew. Yeah, I'm definitely a winter cook.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like it. Those all sound like such good comfort.
Yeah.
What's the weather like up there? I'm in Florida. It's sunny and hot here. So.
Well, we finally have sunshine and 60 degrees, which is
Oh,
great for us.
good.
The difference between winter in Kansas City and winter in Wisconsin is that when you're really sick and tired of winter, it quits in Kansas City. But you got another month and a half to go in Wisconsin.
That's funny. I've lived in Florida so long, not really, I don't live here now. I'm visiting my daughter, which is why y'all see this different background behind me than what I usually have. You would forget that people were experiencing snow. And you might hear it on the news, but really I would totally forget that people were dealing with that kind of stuff. And it was cold places. I'd call friends up north and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Forgot you were in snow.
What part of Florida did you live in for so long?
Raised the kids in the Orlando area, south of Orlando, so around, not far from Disney and all of that. And my daughter now lives in Tampa, and that's where I was until, for those of you who don't know, I'm kind of in a vagabond little limbo life right now. But I've been in Florida for a bit, but I was in Memphis before that, and for about 3 years, so just kind of moving around. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so much fun talking with you about Lottie. I'm, really eager to get back and to see what happened between her and Helen, because it's already heartbreaking because I have a sister. I would be devastated if we weren't able to, felt like something had happened, and the age difference. So Helen is what, about 7 years
8.
older, 8 years older than, and I'm about 9.5 years older than my sister. So,
Oh,
we
you
have that.
are.
Yeah, I've got two brothers in between. So, we have that age difference too. And, so yeah, to think that, yeah, that's sad.
I'm the youngest of sisters. I have 2 older sisters, and so I would be in Lottie's position, at least in that way. And they're 4 and 6 years older than me, not such a big gap, but I really remember the separation of having them leave home and how different that was. Yeah, that was
You do
pretty.
it well though, with from the older, I mean, not being the older sister. I think you did that really well, because Lottie will say things like, Helen says she misses being home, but she just seems so happy. And I'm thinking, that's true, because when you are that age, and you do miss your family, but you're so many exciting, you're going off to college, you're doing making new friends, falling in love, doing these different things. Your mind is so focused on what you're doing, you sort of do forget that there's this home and these siblings that are just might be missing you more than you're missing.
I remember that feeling
Yeah,
so
yeah.
clearly. Yeah.
But so it's nice that you could see it from Helen's. Yeah, Helen's not going to have that same dynamic. Her emotions are going to be different. It's because she's newlywed. She's new
Oh,
adventure.
yeah.
Yeah.
She is having the time of her life until war breaks out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because this is set pre-World War II. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah. So one last question. When you've written your story and you hit the end, what do you do to unwind?
Oh, man. Oh. That is a great question. I'm not sure I know. Usually by the time I hit the end, I've got something else pressing to do.
Yeah.
This time around, I have a book to launch. I'm hoping to hit the end on book 3 right about the time book 2 comes out. I remember the first one with Lottie's Gift, when I finished, and I met with my writing partner and was just gleeful about finishing it and it being good. And I said, I don't even know if I'll do this again. And she said, oh, you're going to do this again. You're going to find another story to write. You're going to go to the story store and find a story to write. And she was totally right. I am so hooked on this.
The story store. When you find out where the story is, let me know.
That's right.
I want to do some shopping. So is book 2 not out yet then?
It will be available for purchase on March 13th.
Oh, good. Soon. Because we're doing this on March 2nd. So yeah, just in a few days. Yeah.
And I will have information for pre-purchase before that.
Oh, good. Yeah, so again, go to Jane's website, janemtucker.com. Read about Postcards from the Heartland and all about her love for Iowa and the other states surrounding that. And grab a copy of Lottie's Gift so that you can read it, and then grab Lottie's Hope, and then we'll have to wait for book 3, which needs a name. So there you go. That's what I want y'all to do. Jane, thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
It's been a privilege. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. It's been great. And everybody, we're just so glad that you're here with us, and ask that you come back again when we interview another wonderful author. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.